Again, this time properly live, yeah, because only live is real. Welcome, beautiful people. I'm here with Ian Gauci, partner at GTG Advocates. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. Who is Ian Gauci?
Ian Gauci is a lawyer who has a fixation on technology. Actually, more technology rather than law, and I happen to have as well a particular love affair with blockchain and Bitcoin right now. More blockchain, but Bitcoin is there to stay as well.
Okay. How do you see those interconnected? So, blockchain is the underlying technology of Bitcoin. Blockchain appeared because of Bitcoin, but of course you can do other things with blockchain.
I think you summarized it correctly. Blockchain owes its origin. The first concrete protocol, which is not beta, is Bitcoin. So blockchain owes its origin because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin substantially is something different, but they are both empowering machines. Blockchain in itself, and it can be used in different facets of the industry. Bitcoin, it's not only a means of exchange, it's not only a commodity, it's not only a means of payment, but intrinsically is an empowering machine. Particularly if you see its history, how it evolved, what happened in 2008, why Bitcoin became so popular. So it is an empowering machine, and it will still be an empowering machine.
You mentioned you are very interested in technology. I think as a lawyer that is a very good statement. What fascinates you about technology, and what was your way into technology in general? Or like when did you buy your first, computer, for example?
I bought my first computer actually quite late in the day. But my fascination on technology comes from three different facets. So it is the technology per se, which is becoming more than a tool. It's more of an autonomous agent technology. So it is becoming a little bit pervasive. The advancement in technology, I use it every day, so I'm fascinated. Added to that, given that I happened to draft as well telecoms legislation, I'm lucky because I am the national legal expert on the blockchain task force, so I had a lot of input on the laws as well, working very closely with people like, for example, Max. There I see the policy implications as well. So you need to plan laws, you need to plan policy to cater for technological advancement. And you need to make sure that you don't stifle innovation, because in turn you will stifle evolution here. So it's no easy feat, no easy task. So that's practically what fascinates me on the technological front.
Let's talk a bit more about the national blockchain strategy for somebody who is watching and who is really coming from abroad, doesn't know anything about the whole story. Can you outline? Can you summarize the whole story from the very beginning? What happened in like the last 3 years with now finalizing in these three builds?
Well, the blockchain strategy started before the BIS and before the task force.
In which year?
I would say that it started 3 to 4 years ago when Steve Tandon, together with Chris Vassallo and together with Max, they started thinking about blockchain strategy. They drafted something, they passed it to the then Minister of Economy, which I believe was Cardona. And the first national strategy was presented to Parliament. After that, there was Silvios Cambri. Silvios Cambri took on from that. He surrounded himself with a task force. I think it was a very good move. And we started thinking about the law. How to do the law, in what manner, and why to do the law. In actual fact, we departed a little bit from the concepts in the strategy. Why? Because when you're crafting law, then you amplify on those concepts. But we've built on them as well. So this is something which has been cooking in this island for over 3 years. I think I would say that 3 years.
And it really got, in the beginning, I assume it was very early, and probably the acceptance wasn't really there. So, but then finally it took really off, and there was really a big collaborative effort, and now it's really a big movement, right? And we see the benefits. What is Malta really offering right now?
Well, Malta is offering transparency. It's offering as well a foundational basis for an institutional framework which will be for the benefit of the investors, for the benefit of the adopters. So at the end of the day, it will install consumer welfare. We believe consumer welfare that will be sustained. It is something which is innovative. We distinguish as well between blockchain as a technology and the intrinsic elements, which at the end of the day are code. We're speaking about software here. You can peg it any way, it is software. So we're moving a little bit away from the black box concept. We're saying that, listen, we're not regulating technology, but we're trying to dressing it up. Why dressing it up? Because we want to make sure that technology here, given that we're speaking about a foundational technology, so it is meant to bring a lot of value, it is meant to regenerate, it is meant to disrupt, it is meant to transform industries. So we want to make sure that that happens. So its usage is safe, so customers are protected. We will have uptake, so the investors perceive it as a niche, so they invest more, okay? And their technology in itself can prosper. And then even as a country we evolve. So that was always the intention. We empowered the individual. So in that case, we have 3 bills. One of the bills is quite unique because I think we're the only country who established an authority specifically focusing on innovative technology. Initially, a good 90% of that work will be on DLT, blockchain. Hopefully in the future it will be on IoT and AI as well. Intrinsically they will go hand in hand in the future. Then we're going to as well set the parameters, directly regulate technology arrangements. Technology arrangement can be smart contracts, they can be private, hybrid or public, DLTs. They can be in the future as well a combination of artificial intelligence, there can be DAOs. So we're paving the way for that as well. We're going to certify them, we're going to make sure that they are auditable, we're going to make sure that if you have a technology arrangement which is a smart contract, irrespective of where you use it, so it can be financial services, it can be in the health industry, it can be in the energy industry, it can be in the transport industry. We understand the purpose, so the purpose and the software is auditable. You understand the manifest, so you make sure that that particular software can meet the purpose, so it's safe for use. And we start regulating that on an ad hoc level, because it could be that in certain instances having a smart contract, technology arrangement, would mean that you have something which might be different from a contract under law of obligations, from a contract under the UCITRAL model, from a contract under the commerce model. So there we're creating something ad hoc, and that is quite unique as well. So that is the second part of the bill. The third part of the bill is something which excites you, I know, and it touches on cryptos. Actually, it is the virtual financial asset bill. There we're establishing a mechanism where you start with the premise that whatever is covered by the financial services, so for people to understand out there, a security will not be captured by the new legislation, that is captured by the existing legislation. What will be deemed to be a virtual token, utility token to a certain extent, it will be also excluded. What will be deemed to be a virtual financial asset, Bitcoin would fall very squarely within that definition. Then all the activity around it, whether you issue it for commercial purposes, whether you provide wallets, whether you give advice, whether you exchange it, whether you provide custodian services, we're trying to regulate that sphere. Whether you issue an ICO of a token, which is a virtual financial instrument, that we're setting principles of transparency, warranty, what kind of conditions you need to put in the white paper, what kind of information you need to give to the authority, the team, what kind of guarantees you need to give. So we're installing certainty. So even from that point, if you look at it from the logical point of view, token economy can literally prosper. It's not that we are saying this is the perfect way to do it, but at least we're the first. We know that we're risking, but the aim is to do well and to make sure that this economy will prosper.
For a prospering economy, ultimately the people who do the businesses need to decide if they like it or not. Can you do me a favor and give examples? Also maybe for the DLT or the second bill basically. So I don't know. Do you have an example in mind? Maybe autonomous cars or something like that, where you can, because what you explained was kind of the theoretical ground, but now to make it even, the knowledge is good. If you have an example, it's good to bring it together so people really understand it. How would this regulation really work in the end?
This regulation, imagine yourself. So let's distance a little bit ourselves from financial services, because everybody seems to be fixated by financial services.
I mean, that's also very, of course, for like a trader here, what's the effect for an OTC desk? But I would actually like to have both examples.
Yes.
So both for.
But blockchain and even Bitcoin is not only on trading. So even in Satoshi's paper, even though blockchain is not mentioned, but the ambit of a pure decentralized model, pure decentralized trust is a trust machine. So that trust machine, if you see it, for example, let's start with health. Imagine yourself right now, you have your health file and you see 7-8 different doctors. Right now you don't have your health file. Your health file is with these doctors. Do we agree? So I am an investor. I want to create a decentralized solution for clinics to share a health file and to make sure that the individual is the self-sovereign entity of that health file with certain exemptions. Why? Because if you, for example, then dealing with a local national hospital, that national hospital will have a public function, so to a certain extent it has to control the data on that particular file. But other than that, if you have an investor who is willing to do that, and that's something quite innovative, empowering the individual, moving into something which is transitory new, okay? So you're transiting into innovation as well. With our current regime, with the new bill, the new law, when it becomes law, he can register the DLT, certify it. The authority will check that it is safe, that it will meet the purpose, that it is licensed, okay? So from that point onwards, he has something which is ascertained, not ascertained by his technical people only, but by an authority. So whatever he builds, then, even if, for example, he would require a license from the health authorities to do certain transactions, then it's a build-up on a concrete platform. Now let's go on the financial services point of view, OTC. OTC, you can have an OTC model which is electronic, so an over-the-counter model, it's like a marketplace. There are certain exchanges which work like an OTC, because they don't hold the custodian model. In that case, if they're doing a B2C activity, that particular activity will no longer be a grey activity, because if it falls under the Virtual Financial Assets Bill, it will fall under a legislation. So it will be licensable, and it is licensable by a reputable country. So in that case, even if they require banking requirements, we hope that the banks, seeing that we regulate it, so there is more than guidelines, because in regulation you have mandatory provisions, they would be more eager to open up for this new economy. So that is the benefit which we hope that this particular legislative regime will install.
Okay, we are designing a jurisdiction to the best level. What else is needed for the industry to consider to move to Malta?
Malta in itself provides far more than this jurisdictional new capment, because Malta in itself has an ecosystem which has worked very well for financial services, maritime, gaming, so we're sort of building on that. I think that as a country we need to mature. It's one thing having a law, but it's another thing applying it correctly. You need to be stern where required, flexible where required. So we need to emancipate ourselves, even regulatory-wise, particularly when we're going to deal with technology which is so perverse. I think as well that we need to make sure that we plan our scalability, because it could be that we are overwhelmed by our own success, and that could be a defeating factor in itself.
Yeah, we have James Catania. He will take care that we have flying cars.
I think James Catania would. I would rather he does some submarines rather than cars.
Yes. Customer journey. To finalize this, if I'm really considering, moving here for whatever reason, if I have an exchange, if I'm a Bitcoin, if I'm in financial services for crypto, or I have an ICO project or any decentralized idea, where should I go first? And what's kind of the process for me to find out more information, and like where can I go to get help?
If If you're not knowledgeable, so you did not dig up the bills, you are not following the public consultation issued by government, all the notices, all the information, the MFSA's consultation, even on the financial instrument test. So you're starting from zero, and you don't like to do the research. Usually, the first port of call would be either the authority. You speak to either authority. Right now, we only have the MFSA because the other authority is still being planned. It still needs to be built up after the law comes into place, or else an advisor. There are a couple of good advisors who have all been involved even in the consultation and drafting of the law, because it was, thanks to Silvio Schembri as well, it was a sort of collaborative effort, and we took everybody's views on board. So I would say that if you don't want to do the groundwork yourself, you hook up with a very good advisor.
Very good. Can you, follow-up question to that, can you talk a bit, it's important to have social proof, so who are your customers at the moment? Can you give us some names, maybe, even if I'm not sure if it's confidential, but talk a bit maybe.
I cannot give names, but you know what kind of names, because you know what kind of clients we have. We have big clients, we have exchanges, we assisted as well certain ICOs. We're very choosy ICOs. We assisted as well clients, and we're assisting on blockchain projects.
How's the feedback of those clients, especially since it's really leading exchanges? How did they find Malta, but also specifically the law, and what was their feedback? Was it all already, was there then after they had a look, were there corrections and improvements?
We had some inputs, I think, from all the industry. Even different lawyers came up with inputs. Where the inputs made sense, we made sure that they were reflected in the bills, because they are still bills, they're still being debated in Parliament. I would say that right now it's a 50-50 situation. From what they see, even other countries saw our bills, what they see intrigues them to a certain extent, because it is innovative and it shows that there is thought behind it. It's not that a law was copied or something was done in abstract, there is thought. Having said that, we're still working on the financial provisions, the rules and procedures, the conditions for the licenses, and even if you have that, so even if by end of July or October we'll have finalized everything, I would still say that we're 50-50. Why? Because the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So there, it will depend on the interface with the respective authority, the length of the license, the kind of professionalism that we as advisors, we need to be wary of that, because we are representing our nation here. We'll show towards these people, so these people are wary of that, all outfits. So right now it's a 50%, one foot in, one foot out, and we need to make sure that that other foot is stable on the ground here as well.
You're traveling around. You were in Poland, but Asia, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Macau. What can we learn globally from other jurisdictions? And also maybe just to it's always good to kind of have set the problem first. So what is kind of the challenge at the moment actually for the crypto space? What problem do we really tackle and solve with that?
Yes, I've been abroad. Next week I'm going to Amsterdam as well, speaking. I think what we need to realize is, and this is very important, that we are a small country, but we have capable people, very capable people. We've proven ourselves time and time again, maritime, financial services industry, gaming. So we are capable to achieve something which is big.
It's good. Okay.
Something which is big, even though we're small. My experience is when I go to these places and we speak even with representative of government, lawyers, academics, that we're doing something which intrigues them. A lot tell you as well that it's something which is very good. Some of them inquire as well whether this could be something which their governments could copy. So that installs me with a lot of faith and pride, because I pride myself being Maltese, and I pride myself in the fact that we're doing something which is innovative. Other than that, however, I think that the next step would be that, yes, we're doing this in Malta and all the rest, but we're speaking about global innovation. We're speaking about something which has no borders. We're speaking about here of the future internet. So even as an authority here in Malta, even as a country, we need to make sure that as much as possible, yes, we travel, we share this good news, and we try to build bridges, because this is a global phenomenon. Even if we have the best piece of legislation here in Malta, on our own, we will never do it, because whoever is going to open shop here is going to target the worldwide economy. It's going to target outside of our shore. So there we need to collaborate with other nations, and we need to make sure that, like us, they understand that this is not a threat, but here there is a potential for big value.
My camera girl, unfortunately, has a stiff arm in the meantime. We'll probably meet again for maybe an even more extensive interview, because you have a lot to talk. It's good. And maybe a last question to summarize again. You said it's eventually, you know, sort of a new kind of internet, really a big thing that's happening. However, I think many people also see it very critical. They are afraid that, you know, it's another big hit that is not so sustainable. Of course, then we can talk about all the general challenges that also occur and are present. But from your personal perspective, what are it's supposed to be a win-win situation, both for the island and for the society here, and for business. So what is this win-win situation about? How can Malta as a country and how can people personally benefit from that?
Let me, before that, touch on your previous comments, because people perceive it as hype, people perceive it at risk. So let's start with the fact that blockchain is nothing new. It is a very old technology. The Merkle tree was invented quite a long time ago. So if you have cryptography, it was invented quite a long time ago, okay? Cryptographic keys. If you have smart contracts, it was invented by Nick Szabo in the 90s. If you look at Bitcoin, before Bitcoin there were other cryptocurrencies like Gold Cash. It was backed by gold. So to a certain extent, people might say, but yes, so what's the innovation? The innovation is here that you have a medium which brings all these together, and you have an emancipated society, which is important as well. So there are two important factors. Now imagine a legislation which can combine the two, which can marry the purpose. So that brings a lot of value as well. So even from that front, and we might be speaking about blockchain 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, it's irrespective. It is the purpose which is important. So as a country, we are marrying the purpose, and we're going to make sure as a country, at least I hope that we make sure, that aside from the legislation, we create very solid foundation, so an institutional framework which will make sure that, as I said before, from the user, consumer point of view, from the person investing in the technology, from the industry using the technology, we're going to make sure that as much as possible we propel the use of, if it's not blockchain, the authority is not a blockchain authority, it's an innovation authority. What we care about is innovation. Why? Because when you have innovation, society will evolve, and evolution for us is very important.
You mentioned elevated society. What kind of mindset is helpful if you want to join, if you want to be a part, if you want to find out more maybe, and like what is a good advice for someone here in Malta that wants to have a look?
It's like your association. You're inclusive. So to a certain extent, I presume that you don't set standards. When you're inclusive, it depends more on the subject person. The subject person should be inquisitive, should be open, should understand, so he should be knowledgeable. I would say that we need to be more inquisitive, and we need to perceive this as a potential for value. If you have the right mindset, I think we're going to offer the right solutions.
Great. Any last word from your side?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and hope to speak again. Thank you for watching. Buy Bitcoin, be free. No financial advice. Happy weekend. See you next time.